Hey, mental health warriors, thanks for tuning in. I'm super excited about the show tonight. If you watched the Veterans Trash Talk Hour 2 weeks ago, you noticed the guest that is on my show now. She was on that show, and I had invited her to come on my show and talk more about the ride she's getting ready to do, Centuries for Suicide, if I got that correct. And so we're going to have a great conversation with AK here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Before we get started, I'd just like to say, once again, thanks for tuning in. Please go out to VeteranTrashTalk.com, where you can see all of our merchandise. You can get links to all of our great podcasts. You can get your Mental Health Warrior t-shirt. It's always what I say all the time, it's a t-shirt that could save a life because, as you guys know, is I have the text hotline on the back of the t-shirt. So you never know when you walk by somebody, if they're having issues or problems, they can text that number. Talk to a counselor for free. There's no cost to it. You don't have to be in the military. You don't have to be a veteran. You can be, a child. You can be an adult, and they'll talk to you and get you the help that you need. But with that, I want to say, hey, AK, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you got your big bike ride coming up, soon. It's a good cause that you are doing. I donated to that cause. I believed in what you were doing and what you're trying to achieve. That's what we're all trying to achieve here at Veterans Trash Talk. So with that, why don't you go ahead and tell my audience, you reintroduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about you and what you're doing, and we'll kind of go from there.
Excellent. I appreciate you. Good morning, Cliff. It's a pleasure to see you again. And I'm very ecstatic to be here on your show tonight.
Yeah.
A little bit about myself. So my name is AK. I decided to pick up this journey out of some motivation of some small business owners. Those who were already doing work to help save lives in different capacities, primarily in suicide intervention and prevention. It was, I guess we were just at the end of August. I was doing a little bit of research as we were moving into September, which is, traditionally our suicide prevention month. And then I believe globally, we also participate as September being a month for awareness and suicide prevention. So I was, scouring the internet for a little bit, and I actually happened upon a device, Oculus, a virtual reality training that I noticed the Air Force had done some piloting for. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Is this the first time I'm seeing this? And so I just kind of went down a little rabbit hole and trying to find as many articles as possible on it. I was already kind of a huge fan of a group organization called 1111 Veteran Project. One of their members is a professional race car driver. And part of their platform is ensuring, veterans have resources for their health. And so, I just started sitting with it a little bit.
What's the race car driver?
Say that again. Yes, Colin Garrett. Yeah.
Colin Garrett. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he was actually driving my Mustang. I took it down to the show, and he took it out and took it for a quick ride.
I mean, awesome family. And they, also support small businesses. And just so you know, September is also Small Business, Celebration Awareness Month as well. So it was perfect timing for that. But I asked a group of small business owners if I could help promote what they do, particularly because they all are small business owners. And just to see if I could help amplify, what they were doing in suicide prevention. All of them, end up saying yes. And so I started doing a little bit more digging into what they do so I could be the best, promoter essentially of it. I called a friend, the only air woman that I know, Almina, and I said, hey, have you ever heard of this device? And she said, yes. I decided that, what would be the best way to do this? What would be the most creative way to do it? And one of the passions that I have is cycling. And part of that came out of my own journey in, trying to bounce back from some depression of my own and challenges. And so I spoke to all of the business owners and said, hey, I don't have much. All I have is a bike, some energy, and a voice. And let's do it. And they said yes. And I was like, okay, great. So I got my hands on the Oculus that has the virtual reality suicide prevention training. I put that in my backpack. I put one of Colin Garrett's hero cards in the backpack, Linus Defense, Inunday, like put all of their like sponsor ship material in my bag. And I just was like, hey, I'm going on this journey. I'm just going to cycle. So I started in Maryland. I went to kind of just cycled down the East Coast, Southern East Coast, and stopped along the way. But what I found on my journey, and I didn't have this awesome jersey that said what I was cycling for,
Yeah.
were different people's stories. I would stop at a restaurant, stop to fill up my water bottle or something like that. And people would just talk to me. Hey, what are you doing? Like, and part of those conversations was the engagement of mental health. And, you know, it's like exploded all over the globe right now, the importance of mental health. And no crap, people were telling me about their family members who had either completed suicide, those who had either struggled or something of that nature. And I was blown away. I was like, talk about energy. Like, I didn't even mention the word suicide, and that's what was coming back to me. So I sat there, engaged in conversation. I then started asking family members if they would mind if I dedicated my ride that day to their family, the relative.
Mm-hmm.
And I just began cycling daily in memory of their loved one. And so I got down to Florida for one of Colin's races, and I was supposed to do a century that weekend, but Hurricane Ian was coming through Tampa. So I had to get out.
You didn't want to
Well,
ride in a
actually,
hurricane, huh?
yeah. So I hunkered down for like a couple days in Sebring. An awesome gentleman named Wayne supported me there for the evacuation portion. And then I pushed back up to Virginia. So that's just a little bit about
Hey, Kay, can I ask you one question about the ride? Because I didn't hear you mention, as I said, I did watch the Trash Talk Hour.
Yes.
And you guys were just having too much fun to cover, the minute details. But
yeah,
as you know, our brother Kyle did, the East to West Coast ride. Were you strictly on your own, or did you have at least a support team of one like Kyle did? What was your setup for support?
So because it was organic, I didn't have any support. When I thought about doing this, there was no, hey, let me think long term. And I'm a logistician. I know better than this. But I was like, no, I have to do it. I need to get out of my own space.
That's great.
I would drive state by state, and I'd get out, I'd cycle 25 out, 25 back to my bike, to my car, and load the bike back on there and then drive some more. So that's how I did it.
So you did
if I could have done it with like a safety Vic or somebody like there along the way, it would have been awesome.
I'm saying wow, because it still is mind blowing, but that's exactly how Kyle got started. That's incredible to me. That it sounds like to you all that when that settles in your psyche, your heart, however you want to put it, whatever you believe in, there's no stopping you. You just believe, hey, we'll figure it out on the way.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible step of faith is what that is. So I'm very impressed by that.
That, when I was sat down with Cliff the first time, he asked me, like a few questions, and like, why, what's the drive? And then he shared obviously his story with me, and we just really just vibed from that. And while there's that element of, yes, you want to support and empower other people, everybody has a journey. And I think that was matched with, the journeys that I was listening to, my own. And no crap, like when I was going through my crap, my struggles in life, cycling is what allowed me to get out of my head.
Yeah.
And it was a path of freedom in that sense for me.
And that's one thing, if anybody's watching my podcast, that's one of the things I talk about is you have to find some way to decompress yourself or change your mindset and thinking. For me, it's working out. I enjoy working out. It's just something that I've always done my whole entire life. But when I can't work out, I start having depression problems, right? So
Yeah.
I apologize for everybody if you see me moving around quite a bit, because I have a pulled abdominal muscle. I've never pulled the abdominal muscle before. It is the most uncomfortable feeling ever. And I was doing yoga and I just overstretched it.
Oof.
And then a couple of days
Sorry.
ago, Lloyd had a family taekwondo night, right? And so
Mhm.
exercise night. And so I went in there and I pulled it. I re-injured it. But I wouldn't have traded that for anything, because he had such a great time with me being in there and kind of, not really showing off, but just doing all the different exercises that he does. But having an injury and then not being able to do something that you do
Mm.
to help yourself go through those moments when you're not thinking right or thinking correctly, it makes it harder.
Yeah.
So one thing I started doing is I just play more video games. I'm a big big video gamer, so
Yes.
I just go upstairs and I just, I'll sit down on the PS4 for an hour or two, and I'll play Destiny 2, because that's what I like playing. Or I'll go upstairs and watch Lloyd play. Last
Yeah.
night I did a Facebook Live video on Sunday or Saturday night. Well, it was Sunday morning by the time we got done. And we were playing Titanfall. I wasn't playing. The boys were taking turns playing, but I was watching them. And that's just something enjoyable to do. So it's always important to find something else if you can't do
Right.
your primary thing, because injuries are always going to occur. They're always going to happen. But it's tough. It's hard. And
Cliff,
you can even go ahead.
well, no, I'm very appreciative of you mentioning that, because we had an event, as you know, on the
Mm-hmm.
22nd of October at Cyber Rights Foundation. And it was an opportunity to bring those small businesses together,
Yeah.
to really showcase different approaches to solutions and outlets and alternative resources. And I think that in today's world, um, approaching mental health and then finding your even keel has to incorporate those alternative resources.
Yeah.
And I even hate to even say alternative, but so much is traditionally driven through seeing a therapist and psychologist
Mm-hmm.
as the primary. There has to be alternative.
Yeah.
And because it takes so much, it does take time to find the right therapist. I've gone through that.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
I tell people all the time, if you don't have that connection, and a lot
yeah,
of people don't know this
yeah,
within TRICARE or different, you have the right to ask for a different therapist or find one. Because
yes,
if you don't, and you know this, and you were getting ready, but if you don't have that connection, you're not going to open up to them,
right.
and
It's
you're
gonna,
not going to get the help that you need,
it's
and
not
you're
gonna
going to
be
start
genuine.
dreading going to therapy,
Right,
right?
right,
And then
yeah,
next thing, you're not going to go, you're not going to make it appointments, and then you're going to go backwards.
right,
So
yeah.
it's okay to let them know that, hey, I'm not feeling it, and go find somebody else.
Well, the
Yeah.
other thing too,
And
Cliff, if I could add, is that along with that, because this just recently happened to me, is I don't know how common it is, but obviously it can't happen because it happened to me. Is your first therapist may only be able to carry you so far, because as you dig deeper into what ends up being that trauma, they might not be, have the skills, or there might be another type of therapy, as in my case. Like I've heard it from a few people now that the next progression for me is, if I'm saying it right,
Institutionalized.
MDMR. This is what I miss this more. You see why it's therapy?
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But
I got to throw my one-liners in there whenever I can.
I love it. Kevin gets too serious, Cliff's gonna zing me. But no, so again, there's there's so many personal dynamics to what therapy is based on it's as individual as you. So
exactly.
Therapy.
it's like finding the right wife. You got to get married a few times before you find them.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? What the hell?
I just want to go back just a sec, is what that event did for me, and I didn't even realize it was happening, was really, no crap showcasing exactly that alternative resources. And Cliff mentioned gaming, and we had the opportunity to have tech for troops on set. We also had sim seats, and Trouble Defense. And Trouble Defense is a mobile virtual reality virtual gun range. And then obviously SimSeats is you got your iRacing, and then Tech for Troops had a whole deck of gaming available here. And so
And not to mention, you had the Mental Health Warrior Mustang down there.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm don't worry, I'm going to get to each small business. But I think for me, what that allows is that whole spectrum of ages. If I won't tell people your real age, but like you game,
I'm 25.
like my 16-year-old son also games as an outlet. And it can be overload sometimes. And as parents, we try to monitor that, but like we have to incorporate that. We have to allow that to be something that is promoted as an outlet and alternative resource.
Well, sometimes social media gets a bad rep, right? And
Sure.
Pros and cons to anything, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think social media can be for just as good as it is, can be just as bad. This is same as gaming. I grew up in a house, we always played games.
Right.
I mean, if we went out, doing our chores or working on the farm, we'd all relax as a family and sit around, whether it was board games, play Sorry, Scrabble, whatever. I mean, last night, Lloyd and I was playing Sorry, and then we switched and played the old Battleship game, where you had the two consoles across from each other.
Yeah,
and like B7, you hit my Battleship, you sunk my battle, and so, and then we go upstairs and play on the PS4. Right. And hopefully this Christmas I'll get a PS5. Hopefully, I wasn't going to play an exorbitant amount of money, but my father, until the time that he died several years ago, we all would play, and he lived in Kansas City, we was in Virginia. We'd all get on the PS4s. We had multiple systems, and we'd all play together. But what a great connection that the grandsons were able to have with their grandfather. Yeah. To go out and play, and I think. And if parents pay attention to what their kids do while they're playing Fortnite or whatever, because I always pay attention to what my boys are online for, right? And I always teach them right and wrong with what you're doing online. But, a lot of times if they're playing with their friends from school, they're talking about their day, right? Yeah. Or what's going on in their life. Yeah. That's their outlet. Yep. And, I think for a lot of parents, when they go to discipline their kids, they don't understand that. Yep. Right. And it's every parent's right to discipline the kid however they want. But one thing that we have to remember, and a lot of parents forget, is a lot of these kids are addicted to the phones. Right. And it's just like a drug. A lot
of parents are addicted to their phones.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm addicted to my phone. It drives me crazy. I want to go back to the old Motorola V90 flip phone. That was like the best phone ever. But then they discipline their kids, and first thing they do is they take the phone away from them. And then the kid, he has withdrawals. A lot of psychiatrists, psychologists talk about this. And, my older son, when he was a sophomore in high school, there was a young kid who got in trouble. Now, I think he had other issues, but when his parents took his phone away from him, he went upstairs and shot himself and completed suicide. Just that snap decision because of that being taken away. Mm-hmm. I know with of course, Lloyd doesn't have a phone. He's 8. He doesn't have one. He has an iPad, but he can't call or text or anything on it. But when Junior had his phone, I would always do spot checks on it, and he never knew when they were coming. I'd be like, hand me your phone. I never found anything. It only did times, but just knowing that was going to occur.
Well, I think that since we're just going down this lane, I think that even when you do find something, that is your touch point, that is your entry, that is your opportunity as a parent to discuss whatever that is, whether it's sexting, or whether that's like, hey, we've got these type of drugs on campus, or whatever it is that we think as parents are we should pay attention to. That is your entry, that is your open door to a conversation. Mm-hmm. Not an argument, not a punishment. That is an open door.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it was fun because double trouble, or what was it? Defense. Trouble defense?
Oh, trouble defense.
Trouble defense, yeah. Yeah. And I was talking with them about that. Have something like that come to the house, and the kids can go out there virtually and play that game and go to the different things that they did in the trailer. My boys enjoyed it. They had a good time. They came down with me to the event because Junior helped drive the truck down. But and I think for a lot of people, they need to try new things, right? Don't be afraid to try something new.
Right.
That doesn't have to be
Right.
gaming. That doesn't have to be something. But I mean, if you're not happy, I had a guy on the show a while back. He was an Iron Man. He just turned 60 and he's actually winning Iron Man. And he said, you know
Ooh.
what? He said, I went from a couch potato to doing Iron Man in 5 years.
Mm.
And he does the full Iron Man. It's not the half or the.
Oof.
And he said,
Oof.
people always say, well, I can't run a 5K.
Mhm.
I need to go run a 5K or whatever. And he says, well, you can't run a 5K unless you can walk a 5K.
Right. Start
And so
small.
his thing was
Yeah.
just get out and move
Mhm.
and do something.
By the way, I think today was the 30th, right? Yeah. So it's the Marine Corps Marathon is today. Just wanted to put that out there. Just do something, right?
Yeah.
Start somewhere.
Yeah.
I also want to add, I didn't know that your kids were able to pop into the Trouble Defense virtual reality gun range. But just for our audience, Cliff was one of our, high-end donors. And if it wasn't for Cliff's donation, Trouble Defense wouldn't have even been able to be on set. And so there were two particular small businesses that attracted quite a bit of attention, and that was one of them. And the reason I want to mention this is because there was significant debate. It was actually Monique Clark, who, owner of Lioness Defense, who started the conversation about bringing them to the event.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of debate on the team about, well, you're talking about suicide prevention and you're bringing a troubled, a gun range to the event. Like how do you, why do you think that makes sense, or does it not? And so she's in conversation with one of her mentors, Keel, and like, so we're all like kind of going back and forth.
Yeah.
We wait a week, debate about it back and forth. And we're like, no, that is why you have to have and accept alternative outlets. People go to the gun range to blow off steam. People
Right.
go to the gun range to teach their kids how to do things safely.
Yeah.
Like that, it can't just be, a line that's drawn between depth. Yeah, exactly. No depth, and understanding how people, have different outlets. And so I have to make mention of that because there is a chain of events that occurred and great thought that went into it. And you were able to bring that to existence at the event. So I don't think you know that, but that's
I
there was
didn't
a
know
lot.
that. No.
Yeah.
No, I did not.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It was, we got there kind of late because I had an event prior to, so I made it down there kind of late, but I was more than happy to, to bring the Mustang down. And of course, we participated in the Veteran Trash Talk Live Hour there with Nick.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. But there's so many people out there doing so many amazing things, right?
Yep.
But we kind of got off on a tangent. So I want to circle back around to Centuries for Suicide and your bike ride that's coming up here as we're getting ready to wind down. But really, what I would like for you to do is talk about what that is, how people can donate, and I'll make sure Kevin gets it up on the screen where they can go and donate, for this that you're doing, and really just kind of let the audience we know why, but
Right.
we didn't tell them how they can donate and how they can help, and it's just everybody's out there doing a lot of great things. Veteran Trash Talk, that's why it started. I started telling my story of hope 10 years ago and did a lot of videos and was the first active duty officer to ever publicly speak about my suicide attempt. And so we just really want to highlight that, and so I really would like for you to dive more into your bike ride, where you're going A to B, and then if somebody wants to donate, how are they able to donate to the cause,
Yeah.
Centuries for Suicide, and so forth.
Absolutely. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity. So Centuries Against Suicide is currently a project. It might be a foundation one day. However, the drive behind it will always be, how can we empower and get the resources out to those who need it most? And those target populations are veterans, active duty, reservists, and our first responders. So again, the only thing that I had to promote these businesses and folks who are doing these great things to intervene and prevent suicide was on my bike. And so my journey has been on on the bike. And so my last ride will be on the 10th of November, which I will attempt to complete 100 miles in awareness of those who have completed suicide, those who are struggling, and to advocate for the resources that we need to help intervene and prevent.
And what route are you going to be riding?
Yes, so I will actually be riding Route 1. In my final destination will be the Marine Corps War Memorial, in effort to make it in time for the wreath laying for the Marine Corps' birthday.
Okay.
And so I will be there for that, as well as just behind there is the Arlington Cemetery, which technically will get me to my 100 miles. But I think it's very important to have that piece in there because while yes, I'm a Marine, I think that that space, particularly for our nation, is one of remembrance. It's one of honor and great respect for those who have served, for the generations in our families who continue to commit to service in different capacities.
Yeah.
And I do not want to leave out our first responders. And many first responders have actually come from the military and or go into the military following their service. And so that's very important to me. And I thought that that would be a appropriate space to cycle to in honor of all of those who give.
What time are you going to start where's your starting point?
Yes, so I appreciate you asking that. That has changed twice now. I will be starting in Spotsylvania at a fire department there. And I'm actually starting on the 9th, the evening of the 9th. So I believe we have a full moon on the 8th. It'll appear pretty clearly on the 9th. And then that will get me there by 10 o'clock on the 10th of November.
That's Veterans Day weekend too, isn't it?
That is correct. That's Veterans Day weekend. Also intentional. I will most likely be recovering on Veterans Day, but that I wanted to be able to bring those two together. And I'm glad you asked that because since the beginning of my cycling, which was the 29th of August, I have been able to catch the Air Force's birthday, the Navy's birthday, and then obviously I'll end on the Marine Corps' birthday.
Yeah.
But for those of you who believe in the universe and understand the cycle of the moon, I have also been able to cycle under each full moon of each of those months.
Oh,
and
nice.
So starting on the 9th will allow me to cycle under the full moon and then complete the ride on the Marine Corps' birthday and recover on Veterans Day. And I can't think of a better sequence of days to be in that path.
And if somebody wants to go out and donate to your ride or help you in any way or form, how do they go about reaching out to you?
Yes, absolutely. If you are willing to do that, I would be greatly appreciative. But more importantly, those who need it will be more appreciative of it. So if you go to racingforheroes.com, they actually have a tab up that's identified as Centuries Against Suicide and a big donate button there. I am working towards closing the gap of $77,000. If I could get the support, I was going for, if I can get 100 people to donate $100, then I'd be there. But if anybody wants to donate any less or any more, that would help us to be able to provide another expo for those who need it.
Yeah. And that's, we talked about earlier. First of all, thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you.
But, a lot of people just don't understand the importance of gun safety, right? And I'm going to go back to this because you brought up a point, because you came to that event. People are like, well, should we have it? It's a video game, but in teaching gun safety and giving people that moment or that time to think about it before they do something, right?
Right.
Is very important. Gun locks and things like that it's just to allow that moment to maybe to stop and have that clarity for that second, right? And maybe
Right.
within that second, you'll change your mind.
Right.
I've always grew up with guns. We had guns around the house all the time. And my boys, know about guns and how to operate guns and things like that. So I think gun safety and what they do is very important. I think what you're doing in writing and the significance that you have with full moons and writing for all services. I know you currently still serve in the Marine Corps, so thank you for your service.
Thank you.
But I think it's important, and I think it's having the conversation, right? This is why I
Right.
do what I do. This is what you do. This is what Veterans does. Trash Talk does what they do.
Mhm.
Because the more we talk about it, the less we can remove the stigma.
Yes.
Back when I was going through my issues on active duty, if I didn't have a commander that supported that, I wouldn't have stayed in for 34 years. I would have been kicked out then because
Right.
back then they put you on order for 60 days and then they med board you out.
Sure. Yep. Yeah.
Nowadays it's different. Back then that was it. And so
Right.
I was very lucky in that aspect. But I think everything happens for a reason.
It does.
I appreciate Nick, coming to town and introducing us.
Yeah.
But
Same.
AJ, I would love for you to. We'll make sure Kevin will make sure everything's up on the screen. Kevin, you go ahead and pop back in. After you're done with your ride and you're all completed, I would love for you to come back on the show,
Okay.
AJ, and do a follow up and just kind of give us a highlight of what went on
Yep.
during your ride
Yeah.
and how all that turned out. And because I think our audience would be interested to see how all that went. And with that, go ahead, Kevin.
You know me when I get excited, and you'll understand why here with this question, because we can't leave this episode without finding out. The full moon thing has to be like because you turn into some hairy Marine Corps cycling beast, right? I mean, that's what I'm hearing now.
Hey, listen, I just know that I'm going to need all the effort and energy that I can possibly muster to do that. And
I'm just picturing the cycling jersey like ripping and hair flying out,
that I should push it back a few days, and that'll be my Halloween outfit, right?
Right, right.
There you go. Yeah.
That's amazing. What an incredible story. That's why this is such a pleasure being this audience. I mean, it's just an incredible experience to hear this in the moment.
Yeah.
But to hear it in this form, just really, it's like the message is always for me and the timing always seems to be perfect. So I thank you for that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And, Cliff actually transitioned to this in one point. I want to just go back, the importance of gun safety and, the locks being just that gap in time.
Mm-hmm.
But you also mentioned that your sons, you have guns in your home and you keep them safe, and, that your sons know how to use them. And, one of our vendors is Linus Defense at the expo. And Monique Clark, owner of that company, actually did a class. It was sponsored by retired Major Capers, Major Jim Capers, and was a class exclusively for children, for youth, and understanding, how to what to do when you see one, depending on your age, and how to take care of yourself. And I think that us starting early and repeating the lessons often is what will help that next generation in those situations. And so I just wanted to reiterate that and say thank you again, Cliff, for being present at the event and for also allowing me to be on your show today. And I look forward to coming back on after this cycle. Hopefully I'll be able to roll my muscles and everything out before then. And heal up. But this is just a wonderful opportunity to just engage in a conversation, reducing that stigma that is around about asking for help. And little do you guys know, today I needed this show to do exactly that. And so thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Hey, AJ or AKA, I don't know why I keep saying AJ. AK, I want to thank you for coming on, taking time out of your busy schedule. I want to thank you for what you do to bring awareness to the suicide, pandemic that we have in the United States with mental health and things like that. Not only for veterans, but for the children and everybody else
Yeah.
out there that suffers from mental health or mental health issues. But just know that whatever you're going through is temporary. You can get through it. Tomorrow can be a better day. We can't change the past, but you always have the power to change tomorrow.
Yes.
And that's something that I always say. It's a little saying that I came up, years ago, and I say it when I go out and do my speaking events. And it's very important. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Mental Health Warrior. I want to thank you, AK, for coming on and for Centuries Against Suicide. I think it's very important. We'll make sure you have all access to the links. And then I'll let everybody know after AK completes her awesome ride, we'll have her back on the show to follow up. Be sure to go out to VeteranTrashTalk.com, look at all of our merchandise, all of our podcasts. You can get links there to all of our sites, to everything. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that. I'm very easy to find. It's just Clifford Bauman, VTT's Mental Health Warrior on Facebook. So you can find me on all my social media. I do all kinds of funny posts. It's funny is on Instagram. I follow this guy and he has the poop word of the day, and I'm going to close out with this, right? And so every time he just says something, when you go poop, you just say something funny, right?
Yeah.
But hey, when you're having a good day, and I'm going to end with this because it's kind of funny, you can't beat a good poop, right? Because that just makes you feel better, right?
Yes.
You didn't think I was going to work that in.
No, that's a good one. That's good. Yeah, absolutely.
So hey, Mental Health Warriors, you guys take care and have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.